Hello and welcome to U to 18. This is a review for the 2016 movie Split, directed by M.Night Shyamalan. I was a staunch supporter of Shyamalan. To my mind, those three films, The Sixth Sense, Unbreakable and Signs, were pretty much as good as any filmmaker could expect to make, certainly in a row. So he had a great run up to that point. But it couldn't last. The Village came next, and while it had some nice ideas, and it really felt like he'd started with the twist and then sort of written the rest around it. If you liked the twist of that film when you saw it, then you liked the film. I thought it was okay. Next up was The Lady in the Water, which is an absolute mess of the film, and I can remember some people loving it when it first came out, but it was such a dark, poorly filmed mess, and I just couldn't get behind it. I haven't seen The Last Airbender, so I can't really comment on that. It just didn't appeal. The Happening. In terms of raw concept, it's probably my favourite of Shyamalan's films, but he handled it really poorly. There's a far better interpretation of that exact same story with the British 1970 film No Blade of Grass. You should check it out if you can find it. It's quite difficult to get hold of. Then, in my opinion, the reprehensible two, I can't see how you can defend these two. First, After Earth. Then The Visit. In the last 10 years, that's been the film, I think, that has really got my back up more than any other film with how poor it was. Both the subject matter, but also how it treated the subject matter. It was just reprehensible, really. So when Split came out in 2016, I'd had enough of Shyamalan by then, so I didn't see it, even though I heard good things. But now, 2 and a bit years later, to find that Split was the middle film in a trilogy where Unbreakable was the first film, Split was the second, and Glass is the third film, I kind of felt like I had to go and see it, because I'm going to go and see Glass. Split starts off well with a pretty believable abduction story. One of them, who's our main character, Casey, played by Anya Taylor-Joy, she can see that in the situation that they're in, there's no point panicking and trying to get out of the situation then. So what's a bit odd from a character arc point of view is that at the beginning she already seems to know the score, so there's nothing for her to learn, there's nothing for her to push through towards the end of the film. But obviously as the main character, the title character, it's James McAvoy that has to hold it all together, and hold it together he does. So he's playing someone with multiple personality disorder, of which they say he has 23 personalities. But to be honest, we only really see about 6 in the course of the film, which is plenty. But McAvoy does very, very well. You can completely believe all of the different characterizations that he's come up with, particularly a very, very tricky performance-led scene in the psychiatrist's office where one of the personalities is pretending to be one of the other personalities. That's really difficult work for McAvoy, but he sells it really well. The various subplots are all promising, but oddly they all lead to dead ends. I suppose the deal is that Split is in the same world, and it's presented at the end in a 2-minute scene as being in the same world as Unbreakable, with a cameo from Bruce Willis. But the rest of the film needn't have been. There's no reference to it, it's nothing to do with it at all. So in that case, is this a trilogy? Or is it just 2 films that have a unified third part, which is what it feels like to me. It certainly doesn't feel like Split is the middle film. But anyway, for 99.5% of the time, Split is its own film. You've only got itself to compare to. So how does it do? Well, it's okay. I think the average score from a movie on IMDb is something like 6.3. I might be completely wrong here, but that feels like 6.3. That feels pretty average. I would say if your average is 6.3, plotted on a line here, I'd say Split is sort of average plus about 10%. So it's probably a solid 7 out of 10. But I am looking forward to seeing Glass, which comes out in about 3 days. So you can see the review for that probably by the time this review's up too. So thanks for watching. Subscribe if you like what you've seen here, because there'll be more content coming along. My name's Jeff Horn. This has been U to 18. See you soon.